Hey, this is Nadine with TK Realty Solutions, and I'm here with my good friend and colleague, Stephen Palacios with Aligned Mortgage, and we just want to have a conversation about purchasing a home while being an entrepreneur. Stephen,
Yes,
how long have you been a loan officer?
I've been a loan officer for a little over a year now.
But he is the best loan officer. I
true.
don't take my loan officers very lightly. And
Yeah.
we've been able to come up with some creative ways to purchase. But here recently we had a conversation because I am looking to purchase another home. We're always looking to buy another house.
Oh yeah.
And we had a conversation, and you helped me prepare for my next house that I was going to buy.
Yeah.
And we sat here and we just took some pen and paper and we wrote down a plan.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was so impactful. And then a couple days later, I had about 3 people call me about wanting to purchase a home while
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur. So I felt this was the perfect season and time to help prepare and position our entrepreneurs to be homeowners.
Yeah, this is a good time for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Tax season coming up.
Tax season is
That's
coming
right.
up,
Yeah.
right? So we have to. That's really. So let's jump right in. So
Yeah.
as a loan officer,
Yeah.
somebody that is going to be loaning us money to buy a house,
Yep.
what do you look for on paper?
Yeah. On paper, the big three for us are, we call it CIA. It's credit, income, and assets.
Okay.
Those are gonna be the main ones for sure.
Okay. So tell me about the credit. What are you looking for? I mean, credit it's very simple, I think. But
Yeah.
what do you look for? Just
Yeah.
Flat
Minimum 620.
and that's to make it easy. But
Correct.
you know you can purchase a home with a lower credit score.
Correct.
But for the purpose of this video and this resource that
Yeah.
and how we're talking, to make it easy, because it's going to be complicated purchasing a home.
For sure. There's a
being
lot
an
of moving
entrepreneur.
parts.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of moving
Yeah.
parts. But just to start off simple, 620.
620 is gonna be your minimum. That gives us options,
Okay.
and then we can go from there.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Next thing would be what? CIA.
Income.
Income.
Yep. Income.
Tell me about that one.
That's a big one.
Okay.
So especially for entrepreneurs, this is important. This is why I think this was so impactful, like you said, when we had the discussion of going over our plan.
Yes.
Right. I always tell entrepreneurs when they're self-employed, you got a plan, and that's the most important part, especially when tax season is coming up, because that's going to make the difference between qualifying and not qualifying, or getting this home and getting that home.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
So, like we talked about downstairs, we had a discussion. We went over how we determine income
Okay.
for self-employed borrowers.
Okay.
Right?
So how soon should they start planning then? Like how soon should
Yeah.
they start planning?
So I always tell people 3 years.
Ew, why
3
3
years.
years?
So we need 2 years of tax returns, right?
Okay.
So people could already have 2 years of tax returns, right? But the idea is this: for people who are starting a brand new business
Yeah.
and they want to purchase within the next 3 years, you got to start planning now.
Okay.
Right? A lot of people come in and, hey, it's November, I want to purchase by the end of December, right? That's a month. That's
Yeah, no.
not enough time,
Right.
right? Especially if you're not used to doing your taxes the way that we prefer it, right?
Right? Okay.
So planning is key. We found that out going over the numbers.
Yeah, planning is key. So I know because you did have our tax returns from last year, our goal was to see how much we could increase.
Yeah.
So we knew that our budget it increased enough to where we could go up in mortgage.
Yeah.
So we were like, hey, Stephen, I want to be at this number. What does that give me in house?
Yeah,
Right?
right.
So why do you do that?
Yeah, so it's important because with business taxes, a lot of people write off everything they can, right? This is
Right.
what we're told for entrepreneurs. Hey, you don't want to pay taxes? Just write everything off.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Whenever you're trying to not pay taxes.
Okay.
Right? However, when you're trying to prove income, it's a different story, right?
So you got to pay your taxes.
You got to pay
So that
taxes.
means if you want to buy a house in the United States of America, you have to pay your taxes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got
yeah.
it.
That's where the planning comes in, right?
Okay.
Because you can tell me all day long, hey, my business brought in $500,000 last month, right? But if you write off $450,000,
Right.
that's a $50,000 profit, right? Obviously, those incomes are two different things, and that's where we run into budget
Right.
issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We know that you're making more, right? You
Right.
know that you're making more. But if we're telling the IRS one thing, that's what we have to go by,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's where the planning comes in,
Okay.
because business owners need to realize that sometimes there's going to need to be a temporary adjustment
Right.
in order to purchase the home that they want,
Right.
right?
Yeah. So if you're looking for a $300,000 home, then
Yeah.
that means you're going to have a certain amount of income.
Yep.
That means a certain amount of take-home pay.
Yeah. Right.
That averages into your last year's tax returns. Do you
Right.
see how much planning you have to do
Right.
in order to get the numbers? So I mean, it's important to plan, but it's pretty simple, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what you're doing is you're taking what you're bringing in, and then what we're going to look at is how much you're spending, how much
Yes.
you're putting out, right? We call that DTI, right? Debt to income.
Yeah. Okay.
Debt to income. Super important, because somebody bringing home, 50,000 and 100,000 potentially could qualify for the same home depending on their debt, right?
Wow.
Because if you have 4 vehicles, right, 8 credit cards, student loans, these are all going to count towards your debt to income ratio, right?
Right.
So that's where the planning process comes in as well. If you know that you want to bring home less, then you need to watch your debt.
You need to watch
And that's
that.
why it's important, right?
And that's the budgeting.
That's
like
the budgeting.
Having a budget. How much you have coming in, how much you have going out, and seeing where in there you can start to make adjustments so you can have more retained.
Correct.
Right.
Because it's a give and take, right? You want to take some of that income, great. Now you need to take some of that debt,
Yeah.
right? If you want a higher debt, you need higher income.
Right.
That's why planning is important.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Now I know I think this is a misconception when it comes to entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs that have like a product-based business,
Yeah.
where they have debt associated just with the business, but then their personal finances are good, meaning I have this income
Right.
and I only have one credit card.
Right.
Can you please dispel that myth? Because really, from my understanding, it looks like it's all,
Yeah.
but I'm not too sure. You let me know.
Yeah. So when it comes to business debt, all of this is taken care of within the taxes, right?
Okay.
This is why the tax returns are so important, right? Obviously, if you're a W-2 employee, we say, hey, check out your W-2s, right? Let me see your pay stubs. Businesses don't always work that way, right? So because of that, this is why it's all thrown into the taxes. There's
All thrown in.
40 pages in your tax returns,
Right.
right? It's taking into consideration that business debt. And so really what we're looking at, that bottom line, that's where that business debt is coming into to hurt or help you,
Right.
right? Depending
Okay.
on how you're spending your business money throughout the year.
Okay, got
Yep.
it, got it. So all debt. So really, it's
All
because it's going to
debt.
be on your tax. So if I hear you
Yeah.
stressing
Yeah.
either planning or taxes.
Correct. Yep. You're planning for your taxes, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to present you, and I know that there's more details to it, because
Of
I
course.
know in
Yeah.
doing mine, I can't tell you how many pieces of documents I had to send.
Right.
But for the most part, you're looking for our taxes. You're going to run our credit.
Yep.
What else kind of are you looking for
Yeah.
in that? I mean, I know
assets.
you're in assets.
Assets.
Okay.
Assets would be the last big one, right?
Okay.
As we talked about, there's a lot of moving parts, right? And
Yeah.
we can get into that at any time.
Yeah.
Assets is the biggest thing. The only misconception I see there is a lot of people think, hey, I'm a business owner, I have to put 20% down, and it's just not the case, right?
You don't have to put 20%.
You do not.
I tell people that all the time.
100%.
Okay.
A lot of people are like, man, I'm almost there. I have $30,000. I'm almost there. This is plenty to get into a home,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And that is the misconception that we see, especially with business owners, because they're dealing so much in high end numbers, right? They're thinking
Right.
that's their only option when it's just not.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's the misconception that we want people to switch and say, talk to us, because we can
first.
help the planning process.
Right.
We may not need that much.
Right. Because
Yeah.
they could possibly put that on debt if they've been saving that.
100%. And that's what we would love a lot of the times, right? Is say, hey, I know you want to plan on putting this much. However, with your budget, if we want this home, let's pay off some debt instead,
Right.
going with a lower amount down.
Right.
And long term, we're in a home now
Right.
versus having to rent for another 3 years while you collect your
Absolutely.
20%,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
So it is possible. I know we started planning 2 years ago, and we were able to get into a home.
Yeah.
It was a process, but now that I've gone through the process, I just wanted to share because I do believe that entrepreneurs, we deserve homes too, and I want to make sure
That's
that
right.
all the entrepreneurs I know that are working really hard for their business and
Mm-hmm.
looking to establish themselves and looking for that generational wealth, it starts, I believe, with real estate. So
100%.
thank you so much
Of course,
for
yeah.
talking to me.
Thank you.
And we'll have more conversations around this.
100%.
But But if you have any more questions, please reach out to myself, Nadine Long with TK Realty Solutions, or Stephen Palacios here at Align Mortgage.
Thank you.